to Pivotal, the inaugural Pivotal 2015. My name's Ruben Meerman. I'll be your MC for the next 2 days. So we'll get to know each other very well. I will be asking you to come and sit tighter in the next session so that we're all nice and close, because there will be some action here on stage as well as on the big screen. But let me just introduce you to some housekeeping notes, and then we'll start proceedings properly very soon. There are bathrooms outside in the auditorium, obviously, and in the corridor around to the left. Just a few very boring things to start, but they're very important. So smoking is obviously not permitted in this building, and here's an important one. There's a conference app, and it's really great to be able to engage with this stuff. If you are tech savvy and you've got your smartphone with you, please do whip out your smartphone and load up the conference app, and then join the social media discussion around this. I'll point out why that's so important as we go along. Social media is obviously part of the spatial revolution. We can all tag ourselves to this place today and get spatial. So please use the following hashtag Pivotal15 for those of you who know about hashtags, or the @PivotalSummit is the Twitter handle for the event. Now, to welcome us to country, I'd like to introduce you to Alan Warrie. Alan is going to be speaking on our last day, so we're going to bookend this event really beautifully with a touch on how our Indigenous First Nation people connect to this place, and how this spatial industry is very closely connected with our First Nation people. So it's very appropriate, and we're very lucky to have Alan here to welcome us to country and say a few words. So I will welcome Alan. Would you please make him very welcome to the stage to make us very welcome to this place? Thank you.
Good morning, folks. My name's Alan Warrie. I've got a few cultural things that I've got to do in the respect of me coming into this space within Brisbane and Greater Brisbane, which we call Meanjin. We've got traditional custodians for this area. I'm not from here, I'm up from Central Queensland, so before I come into here, I've got to acknowledge my space within this space. And I come from Rockhampton. My grandfather, who I can reach out and touch because my mother's 93. I saw my grandfather when I was young. So I'm from the Marlborough country. For me to come down here and speak on this land, hopefully I'm given the rights and permissions to speak by the traditional custodians from here, Jagera and Turrbal from the north, Jagera from the south, and also even bridging over into Quandamooka. And I know that we've got one of our friends and dignitaries here who's going to be within the panels later on. So spatial industries in general, or spatialness within Aboriginal culture and society, is pretty important for us in the way that we actually do things. Traditional type spatial documentation of Aboriginal use of this area is done within an anthropological sort of sense, but we'll get into that later on in the workshop. For us, it's very important. So I'd just like to thank everybody for coming in and taking the time within themselves to come here to an important event like this, and to actually participate in our space, and hopefully it's a good, kind, friendly for the weekend, and we all exchange a lot of ideas and go forward. So before I go, I'm working with an industry with virtual songlines. I work with the National Indigenous Radio Service. We transmit to 128 community radio stations nationally. On the side, we actually do 3D. We're using Unity 5 3D. We call it role play, to map and to re-energise and to present our cultural heritage and our use of land. So I'd just like to play you a video that we've produced. This is not a normal welcome type
the Jagera people,
area.
The traditional owners and custodians of this land.
Now we've got a video.
And space we call Meanjin. Since time immemorial, the traditional owners of this land have moved, have camped, have hunted, have gathered, have sustained a society that has been in this space since time immemorial. Many traditional owners argue that the museum is our landscape. The country is where our sacred objects, our significant sites are maintained and kept, protected, curated and cultivated to maintain their meaning within the context of the place that they've been for thousands of years. The challenge is to take the bricks and mortar of the present landscape and respect its underlying spiritual values. The Turrbal people and the Jagera people have been collecting and curating their traditional knowledge since time immemorial. Maybe it is time for museums, libraries, and the spatial industries to consider these techniques and use them in new ways to protect, to preserve, and to promote the long association of these traditional owners to these present lands. Turrbal, Nei Nari, Jagera, Naiga, Mariman, Warrie, Maja, Yuwin, Bajari, Nua, Burama, Waba, Manua, Ya Nala, Janaba, Bilya, Dijugarayu, Dijugarayu, Dijugarayu. The Turrbal, near and apart, but along with the Jagera, say yes to all men and women. Welcome to country, the country along the big river that always moves and has done for all time. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's our video that we work on. Our 3D, it's actually a game based on Indigenous cultural heritage of the area. That is actually Brisbane without its buildings. I'd like to just say welcome and thank you very much for actually allowing me the space and the time to present to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Alan, and apologies for the early technical glitch, but we will soldier on beautifully from here. Now, we have our first speaker is someone who is in a new role that comes at the end of a very long list of roles. So I'm going to introduce the Minister to you, the Honourable Leeanne Enoch, who has an incredible history of careers. She's from Stradbroke Island. She was a school teacher. She's very engaged with social justice issues. She's very passionate about social justice. She's lived in Brisbane for 30 years. She has some teenage children. She has taught at high school. She's worked with the Red Cross for a very long time. She's worked in London. Social justice was her passion there as well, and I think she's probably developed it even more so over time. Now, Leeanne is going to open Pivotal. It's very appropriate because she's responsible for science, and as we all know, spatial science is why we're all here. So without any further ado, would you please welcome to the stage, let me just check that she's here after the glitch. Sorry, she's coming from backstage, so thank you very much. And would you please welcome to the stage the Honourable Leeanne Enoch. Sorry, that's
good morning, everybody. Yes, as you heard, my name's Leeanne Enoch. I'm a Ngunnawal Ngugi woman of the Quandamooka Nation, which takes in the waters and islands of Moreton Bay. So, Uncle Alan Warrie, thank you for your acknowledgement today and obviously for sharing that wonderful technology with us. It's a great way to begin a conversation when we start by acknowledging the traditional owners. And in doing, and obviously it'll also be my great privilege to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet. And in doing so, let me acknowledge the more than 3,000 generations of the Turrbal people and the Jagera people who have maintained cultural practices on this country. And I can also take a moment to acknowledge all of our elders from wherever you come from, those that have passed and those still with us, guiding us into the future. Can I also just take a moment to acknowledge some of our special guests? Richard Simpson, the Chief Executive Officer for Spatial Industries Business Association, all of our international visitors, our distinguished guests, and all of you, ladies and gentlemen. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you today for the opening of this important event. First of all, I'd like to pass on the apologies of the Premier, Anastasia Palaszczuk, who is unable to be here today, but it's my great privilege to represent her. The Premier is in Singapore following up some exciting opportunities for Queensland, and that comes after a visit to Bio in Philadelphia earlier this month. In fact, the Premier's trade visits are based on the same reason that you are here today, because Brisbane is Australia's new world city, and Queensland is without a doubt the best place in Australia to be if you want to do business smarter. So to our many international delegates and first-time visitors, I'd like to extend to you a very warm welcome. It's great to have you here, and I'm sure you'll be back. Spatial industries are very important to Queensland, especially at this point in time in our development as a global citizen. Brisbane was the second city in the world after New York to appoint a chief digital officer to drive our digital progression, and earlier this year I helped launch the new chair in digital economy in Queensland at the Queensland University of Technology, also one of the first positions of its type in the world. The digital economy now accounts for just over 5% of Australia's gross domestic product, and this share will continue to grow rapidly over the next decade. Over the past 3 years alone, the contribution of digital business to the Australian economy grew from $50 billion to $79 billion. Australian spatial industries, which are intricately linked with cutting-edge developments in information technology, are worth about $18 billion to the national economy. And these are having a multiplying effect on the economy, growing high-value export industries, as well as boosting growth in our digital economy. Supporting the growth of our knowledge economy is a key of the Queensland Government's agenda. We want to stimulate new areas of industry and create the jobs of the future for Queenslanders. Securing a share of the emerging $3 trillion global spatial industries market will be an important part of our efforts. Brisbane and the southeast of Queensland have already established themselves at the centre of development in the spatial industries for this region. With innovative technology and world-leading research on offer, Brisbane's flourishing digital economy offers exciting opportunities to the wider world. Queensland has already been the source of a number of geospatial innovations. The award-winning Queensland Globe was featured at the recent G20 Leaders Summit here in Brisbane. The Queensland Government developed this interactive online tool using the government's own open data, as well as satellite imagery and aerial photography, which can be overlaid with over 250 data sets. Government, business and the community are all able to freely use the government's globe to visualise floods, mining, natural resources, farming, land use, the environment, transport and education. Another example is the CSIRO's Zebedee, a low-cost handheld mapping tool that quickly captures 3D environments using lasers and provides very detailed maps. Queensland company Real Serious Games has developed technology to capture knowledge and embed it into a virtual environment to test scenarios and provide training. Another Queensland-based company, AI3D, uses visualisation technology to communicate stories about place. And software developer Immersive Heritage is developing virtual songlines to retell stories about place through the eyes of Indigenous people, like we've just seen. These are just a few examples of some of the work underway in spatial sciences here in Queensland. During the summit, we will hear from leading experts about how spatial data can be used in such diverse fields as crisis management, climate change, defence, sustainability and community activism. We've recently seen spatial technology used to provide 3D spatial imagery of the MH370 search area. We've also seen high-resolution models developed to help us preserve the Great Barrier Reef, deliver improvements to urban planning and contribute to effective crisis management. Who knows where we can what we can deliver if we work together? Driverless cars, complete smart cities, comprehensive and effective response to climate change, perhaps. The opportunities are limitless. I'd like to congratulate the Spatial Industries Business Association for their efforts in bringing the summit together. The value the association and the spatial industry as a whole brings to Queensland should not be underestimated. I'm confident that you will all leave the conference inspired. I look forward to seeing how that inspiration helps build us all a better future. I'm delighted to now officially open the Pivotal International Executive Summit. I wish you all the best of luck this next couple of days, and I look forward to hearing more about the progress that's been achieved. Thank you.
Please thank the Minister again. We have some beautiful gifts, glass coulamons, which I will show you later for all of the speakers who are speaking here, which are beautifully made of glass by an Indigenous artist called Summer Matthews, so I hope you enjoy that. Now, I will start introducing the speakers very shortly. I thought, considering we'll be spending quite a bit of time together, I'll introduce myself a little more because I don't expect you all to know who I am. So I'll run through a few slides of my own very briefly, and hopefully we'll get to know who else is in the room. So as the conference proceeds, we are an eclectic mix in this room. We have surveyors, we have all kinds of people, and I'm going to, as you attend the sessions, introduce you to each other a little more. You'll obviously get to do some networking, which is what this is all about, but I really want you to know who you are. The reason I'm here today speaking to you is I actually am a scientist. I studied just across the river here at QUT, one of our sponsors. I'm a physicist originally. My first job after graduating from my physics degree was down on the Gold Coast making optical coatings for lasers, which are used for range finding. So my first career was in the spatial industry in a way, making very nitty-gritty little things, optical coatings that make a laser work. They sit on the ends of lasers there. The company I worked for is still in operation as well, Laserdyne. They're down on the Gold Coast. They make rangefinders for the Navy. They make all sorts of gizmos these days, a lot of military applications. I worked on that particular rangefinder myself. It's seen active duty, it's mission critical equipment, and it's made right here in Queensland. We do high-tech very well in this state. Now, I left a long time ago, but I went to their Christmas party just before Christmas last year, and they're still going very, very strong. So I want to hear more stories from you about the other industries that are going strong. We've just heard about a whole bunch of them. Now, I get called the surfing scientist, so I probably need to show you some credentials. I really do surf, and that's really the only connection. I surf quite a bit. Some of you might know me from Catalyst. If you are a fan of ABC television, I regularly report on Catalyst, and I've done stories about just about everything, including the dugongs that are currently grazing about 25 kilometres from here, making a living just swimming around beautiful Moreton Bay. They're endangered, as we all know, and Spatial can hopefully help us conserve these beautiful critters. Another story I did was about these beautiful little turtles that return to Bundaberg every year, where I grew up. If you have children, they'll know me from this show, though. So there is a program on ABC3 called Studio 3, where I turn up and they call me the surfing scientist there as well. I blow things up, and it's all as part of my passion to try and get young kids to realise that here in Australia, we do high-tech very well. Here in Queensland, we do high-tech very well, and you can study physics or anything else you like in this very state. If you recognise these two gentlemen, Dr. Carl and Adam Spencer, I got to shoot Dr. Carl in the face with a fog ring. So I've had a really weird career since I left the laboratory. It all started with this program, Roller Coaster, back in 2006. And my proudest moment to date was to be the first resident scientist on Australia's most influential show, Play School. What a lot of people don't know is that I visit schools like it's going out of fashion. In 1 year alone, I get to usually more than 100 schools. So last year I was in Grafton, I was in all these schools. I take selfies wherever I go. I will take selfies with you while you're here, so please be prepared for that. I've been doing it for 20 years and I've been to more than 1,300 schools. And these kids in Australia are keen as mustard on what we're here to talk about. They love technology, they love using it, and they want to use it in a way that it involves more than throwing birds at pigs that are locked up in a game called Angry Birds, for instance. We love that stuff, but now my place in Australia started a while ago. I'm an immigrant. I came here as a 9-year-old kid. I couldn't speak English. That's my mum. That's the plane we arrived on. I was born in the Netherlands, and this photo, this is my home, and I got it off the internet using good old Google Maps. It's amazing where we can go these days without having to go there. So there's my old front door. We came to this place, and here's my grade 4 photo. I want to acknowledge teachers. We need teachers on board. That's my grade 4 teacher, and I still catch up with him every year. We need to engage our primary school teachers, our high school teachers. We're going to talk about all of this, obviously, while we're here. I'm still active in science as well, and I published my first peer-reviewed paper just before Christmas in the British Medical Journal. So I'll tell you maybe a bit more about this while we're not talking about spatial, because it doesn't seem like it's related. It is. It's about weight loss. Now,